What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dynamics in Love and Marriage, Cooley and Shay.
Hello.
What's going on, baby?
Family,
How you
what's
doing?
up? I'm good.
All right. Well, we're going to jump straight into this one. We're going to lead it off with a question. What's one thing about marriage that you completely misunderstood before you got married?
That you actually have to consider a person for everything you do. You have to consider. I knew people got married. I knew they lived with each other, but I never thought about that they had to think about the other person before they did things, a myriad of things. Like, I'm coming home with some food. Maybe I should ask this person, do they want some? Right?
Yeah.
I want to stay out. Maybe I should consider saying to whatever. It's just, I don't think I thought about even the nuances of things. I don't know why I didn't think that, but I just thought people did life together. I didn't know how they talked about it, but
yeah, I think there is a veil with like a facade with marriage that people have a misconception. What they think is like they may see their parents, maybe friends, older relatives that they see married, and they see just it's like a iceberg. They just see the tip. They see a very small part of the marriage. Mm-hmm. But they don't know the inner workings, the ongoing things. You never know. She could be the breadwinner. He could be the chef.
Right.
But in our heads, what society feeds us is something totally different.
Right.
And so when we get there, we like, well, I didn't expect this.
Right.
This is not what I thought marriage was about. And the thing is, it's different for everybody.
Right.
There is no one way that marriage goes. People are like, well, my mother didn't do that. My father didn't do that. Mm-hmm. You came from your parents. You are mm-hmm. not your parents. Mm-hmm. You're married to somebody totally different that's not related to anyone.
Right.
And so now you have to consider them and the things that they want to do. And a lot of times we keep our marriages private, because if we tell people this is what we do in our marriage, they're like, what? You do that?
Yes.
You're not supposed to do that.
Right.
But who says you're not supposed to do that?
Yes. So I think you hit everything that I was thinking of. Like when I say consider the other person, like there was a perception in my mind that, okay, you got to consider them because that's just the right thing to do, right? Because you want to be considered, right?
Absolutely.
So, but I think what, like you said, society shares is that if you overthink, if you feel like you have to overconsider or talk to the person, it's like you got to get approval or confirmation. And, I'm grown, right?
Yeah.
And so I do what I want to do, right? So I didn't understand that really considering the other person is really out of respect and love. It's not that you're trying to get permission or you got to check in, or it's not it's not that kind of negative connotation. It's really, hey, how would I want somebody to consider me if they were thinking of me, right? Let me go ahead and do that. Let me model that. And so I think even with that word that people struggle with, submissiveness, right? It's kind of like, to me, I think it's a misunderstanding of what that looks like and what it is, because it has so many negative elements to it. But really, submission is a voluntary alignment under a particular authority that you respect, right? And that you really you see the authority and you're willingly falling in alignment with it, not because you feel like somebody told you, not because society did this. That's not. I think it's better experienced if you choose it for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not one-sided, right? So just because I have to consider you, but just because I consider you, it's not because you're the man of the house. It's not because you're, the breadwinner or anything like that. It's simply because I want you to do it to me. So I need to model also what I want. But in addition to that, I want you to experience me in a certain way.
Yeah. Absolutely. So for me, I think probably my biggest misconception was how money works or worked in a marriage. Whether if you have a joint account, whether you have separate accounts, bills still need to get paid.
Right.
Who is paying those bills? Do you expect the man to pay for all of these things?
Yes.
But these are the things that you definitely talk about leading up to it because you have an understanding. I always think about when I see videos, and this is a little bit side story, but when I see videos of men who ask women to marry them in a public space and they say no. And then of course they're embarrassed and they're like, well, would you stay with her? This, that, and the other. My whole thing is, I'm sure he knew that going into this because you didn't communicate with her.
Right.
Y'all had problems, and she probably was like, well, we need to take care of this. We need to do this.
Right.
And he was like, well, I'm just ask her to marry me.
Anyway.
And then when she say no, and it's like you fall on your face, and it's like, yeah. So again, it's communication, and
Yes.
communication is the center to me of all these things.
Yes.
Marriage, money, kids, sex life. You have to talk about it. And so that's what our podcast and our page is all about.
Yes.
All of those things, a myriad of things. But if you want to have a successful marriage, this is what has to be done.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go into, we have 5 questions we're going to ask each other.
But just so you guys know, our topic or the whole title of this episode is the fine print of marriage. Because again, going back to your communication written or verbally expressed, if it is not looked into, if you don't read the fine print,
what should you get into?
And sometimes that fine print is adjusted. So there are amendments and writer documents.
There we go. Yeah.
On it. But that's why I love what you were saying, how all of those things have to be constantly discussed. And we have 5 highlighted topics that we'll cover, and we'll have a couple of questions each for each topic. Each topic.
Yeah.
And this way, we're encouraging you guys to take down the questions, ask the question to your spouse or your spouse to be, or whoever you're doing life with, and just get the Q&A going. So you start the first highlight. Area.
Okay. And so expectations versus reality. What did you think marriage would be like before we got married?
I just thought, we would come together. We would of course have bills and responsibilities, but I just thought that it would be, I wouldn't say easy. I thought it would just be like intuitive. We would just know what we're supposed to do.
Yeah,
I didn't think, I didn't think that it was like a learning process.
A learning curve.
No, or a curve. I didn't think that you have to go back and study.
Yeah.
And anything like that. I just thought that you get into marriage and then you kind of know what to do and you didn't have to talk about it. I know we went to premarital counseling and we did talk about the importance of communication, but I even thought that was specific to topics. I didn't think about everything that you should be talking about.
Which is everything.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
What about you?
That's a good question. I don't know, just glamour. What they say, all that glitter is not
isn't gold. Yeah,
isn't gold. And so a lot of times marriage is glamorized on TV. And if you, again, going back to, if you saw maybe your parents, you only saw fragments of what a marriage is like, whether it was good or bad. And that, I think that a lot of times that's what lead people to want to get married or not get married, because they were like, oh, my parents, all they did was fight.
Yeah.
I don't know any successful married people, but that doesn't mean that can't be you.
Yes.
And then even the people that say, I'm going to go for it, right? Because 60% of marriages end in divorce. So what's the likelihood of people that walk down the aisle will be walking down the aisle to get a divorce,
Right.
Because those are the things you don't think about, or you don't want to think about, because you say that's not going to happen to us. And then unforeseen events happen, and then people change, and you're like, I didn't know this person was like this. So I think for me, it was just glamour. And then you have to look at the backside of it, where it's like, where it's just the two of you alone at the house.
Yes.
And it's like, this is nice.
Right.
I didn't know about this. I didn't expect this, but I like this.
Yes.
So it can always be different for different people.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. What's
Okay.
the next question?
And then the next one is, what's your biggest surprise once we started doing everyday life together?
Yeah, I'm going back to what you just shared. I think I was surprised because I was one of those people that did not grow up with a lot of healthy dynamics between men and women, their relationship dynamic involved a lot of elevated conversations. What I wouldn't say it was arguments per se. They just loud.
Yeah,
it was a lot
what you
of
mean by elevated, but just
just like a lot of stuff going on. We always had something going on. If those that know me can attest to that, you can put it in the comments. You know how Vivian and Howard's situation were, or Vivian and anybody and my mom
that she was dealing with.
that she was dealing with. And what I was surprised about was a couple of things. One, that you don't have to argue, right? So I remember
to disagree
or just like arguments are not an automatic part of a relationship.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't know. I was shocked because even I think we were a couple of years into marriage, and I don't know, I was at work and talking. Maybe some women said something about, yeah, I know when you and Cooley are, getting in arguments. I said, oh, we don't argue. And they were like, girl, I know you lying. I was like, we don't. They were like, so you guys are perfect. I was like, no. And I was like, have you met, like, we are both strongly opinionated people. And they were like, so you don't have disagreements? Well, no, we don't agree on everything. But
it doesn't lead to an argument.
Yeah. And so I guess it was in my head arguments were framed how I experienced them. Right. And so I was like, that's surprising that relationships could do that. And then obviously I did spend some time with my aunt and uncle, and they didn't argue. My uncle sometimes act like he can't hear. But I was surprised by that. And then I was surprised by that. And I was also surprised that how important friendship was in a relation, in a marriage. I was shocked by that. Like actually liking the person.
Yeah.
I guess I just assumed that because you love a person or you're married, that was going to be automatic as well. But I didn't realize how hard it is for people to maintain a actual friendship during marriage.
Yeah. That's my answer is how easy it was.
Mm-hmm.
I do hear people talking about like marriage shouldn't be this hard, or like some people grow up in a toxic household.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. But
right.
The thing is, you are the opposite of that.
Right. Right.
Sometimes they look for that in a relationship. If it's, if the guy's too nice, if he holds the doors, if he does the gentleman things, he's like, he is soft, or I don't like that. I need a thug. I need somebody rough. I need somebody to talk to me like, you better be home.
Yeah.
And because for them, that has become a norm.
Yes.
And so if there's anything outside of that, they can't accept it. It's very uncomfortable for them.
Yes.
And so I think for me was, man, this is easy.
Yeah.
I like this. This is nice. Mm-hmm. It's just an extension of who I am.
Yes. I like that.
And so I don't want stress. I don't want to have to come home. I was in a relationship before you, and I lived with somebody, and it got to the point where I was like, I got to go home. And I'm like, this is not what it was. I'm like, if this is what marriage is about, and I think that's why guys don't want to get married. Because they're like, if this is what marriage is about, I don't want it, because I'm getting this before I even put a ring on your finger, before you take my last name.
Right.
And I'm going to have to deal with that. No, thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
So to me, that's what that was. Yeah. Biggest surprise.
All right. So highlighted topic number 2 is learning we are different people. So the questions here are, what part of my personality took you the longest to understand?
What difference between us? Mm-hmm. I want to talk about right now.
What do you mean by that? That must be you talking about how you talk.
No, that be you. If it's an issue,
yes,
I always get on Shay and say it feels like what movie was that? Menace to Society, where Kane messed up, and he put that like, he's like, you fucked up, right? That's what it felt like.
That's the feeling.
That's what it felt like. Talking to you, I remember our son. When he was little, I think he got caught looking at it was a
workout magazine.
It was a workout magazine, but the girls were like, they in
bikinis,
yes, they had thongs on all of them, and she's like, why are you looking at it? And he's like, I don't know. But as he's a boy that's liking women, and he's like, hey, I don't know why I'm attracted to this. Mm-hmm. But she was on him like, you would have thought he study for it, like the study for the answer. And so she wanted an answer at that moment.
Don't be trying to use our kid. What about you?
That's what I'm just the adult. I'm the adult version.
Tried to use my son, and he didn't want to talk about.
I'm the adult version of that, and so that's what it felt like. So yeah, so that was something we had to get used to, because the thing is, I would have to take time to flesh out my thoughts, and you wanted an answer right then and there. I'm like, I can't give you an answer right now. I don't know. Let me think about this.
Yeah.
So like. Let's take a breather. Let's take time out,
That was an adjustment also for me. That was an adjustment for me too, because I'm like, why haven't you processed this already? So that's the one thing that I think we've spoken about this in our 25 lessons from 25 years of marriage is posted on YouTube. You should check it out in our shorts. But it is really about making sure that you understand the different personality styles within your marriage and your relationship. I'm an extrovert, and ultimately extroverts speak to think. So we oftentimes speak out loud. We're thinking at the same time. So that whole concept of think before you speak, sometimes that doesn't happen right away. But we oftentimes get that information out. And then you have the introverts, which they're typically processors. They think to speak. So it's kind of opposite. Obviously, there are other pieces in introvert and extrovert and a combination, etc. But because I am a extrovert, I want to process what happened, right? And when you're trying to process that with an introvert, they're like, well, give me time and space to process.
Yeah, one moment,
but I'm
please.
like, well, wait a minute. That's not going to register with the thoughts I need to be front and center right now, right?
Yeah.
And so it was like trying to find that balance of, okay, well, if I do want to talk about this now, how much time does it take you to process? You need 48 hours, 24 hours? Like, we have to even talk about how do you do that? And then how, of course, being that kind of a extrovert, hey, I want to talk about it. No argument, but I think that's always rooted in something else. Because of how I grew up, I don't like to live with too much dis-ease. Yeah. I want it to, I think, because growing up, I used to I had a lot of worrying. I was like, man, how's this going to end up? What's this conversation going to be? I like to let's just deal with it and then move on. So when I have a person saying, no, let's not deal with it now, let's take time. In my head, it's well, why can't we build a bridge and get over this? When the construction process is going to start,
Yeah.
But sometimes it's taught me that you need to kind of pause, because sometimes you're building a bridge to get over something that you need to, sit in and process. And it needs to be a whole reconstruction, not a bridge, Yeah. It needs to be something. So, yeah, so that's good. Okay. So, okay. You want to ask me the question too. So with that one, I'll stick with that because it took me a second to understand you needed to process.
Because we were polar opposites when it came to that. Okay.
Okay. So the second question for this highlight is, what is something you do that makes perfect sense? What is something I do that makes perfect sense to you now, but it used to confuse you?
How you jump from topic to topic.
Another introvert thing, 10 topics at one conversation.
I got to put a pin in it, because I know we coming back.
And I don't even say put a pin in it. I
no,
just go.
But I mentally know that I have to put a pin in it. I'm like, okay. All right, we left off.
That's right.
With this loop is still open. We got to come back to it and close it out.
And I should say, this is how, ladies and gentlemen, he is such a attentive and active listener, because anybody that has a conversation with the extrovert knows that you're probably going to have about 5 different topics within that small 5 to 10, maybe more, within that particular time frame. Again, they bounce around. They may not even be connected, but normally we'll have to come back around to it, or we'll just leave it and talk about it next time. But my husband, he will come back and say, okay, Shay, so go back to the first topic. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. And it's even increasingly more complicated as I go into this menopause frame. It's hilarious.
Right. Yeah.
It's hilarious. So let me think about you. Okay, so what is something about you that I didn't understand before, but makes perfect sense to me now?
Maybe how I eat my food.
Well, don't even get me started about that. But I think, I know I already talked about this because it was the previous, I think it was such an impact to me, but it didn't make sense to me that and this may be something that a lot of guys can attest to, that you don't have a thought about everything.
Definitely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I did not understand. I didn't understand. And I related back to you being an introvert and a processor, but I kind of go more from a male perspective, because even when I was doing the interviews for the book, with all the men, and that came up, like sometimes we're not thinking about anything, but you all are adamant about what are you thinking about, and we're like, we're not thinking about anything. Well, why aren't you thinking about anything? We don't know why we're not thinking about anything. It's just that we're cool. Nothing. I'm not thinking about anything.
The movie is over.
Yeah. But
we're not worried about what happened to the character afterward. I'm like, he said cut. That was it.
Yes. I guess for me, it was like, interesting. You don't think about extra things? And he's like, no, it makes sense to me now. That's probably why you guys are less stressed than us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually a comfort for me now, because when I am in my hyper thought thinking process, and you are like, Shay, but you know what? We don't even have to think about 5 years from now, because today is just today. And I'm like, that probably would take a load off my shoulders.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, like things like that. I mean, obviously it could be on something more serious, but I do think that it didn't make sense to me. And I think that other guys do it as well. Clearly you called our son out when he was like, I'm not thinking about why I opened this. I was like, well, you should be. Do you know how old you are?
I didn't think about that.
I didn't think about how old I was. And you went in the bathroom, you were thinking about sneaking. I wasn't thinking, I just did it. It was automatic. Doesn't make sense, sir. Yep. All right.
That's true. Yeah.
Third highlighted section.
Okay. So the number 3, learning how to communicate. So what do you think communication meant before marriage?
I just thought it was something that you did. Like it was just a natural reaction. You talk to people. That's communication. I thought communication was only speaking, listening, but just I don't know if I would say surface, but I thought it was more of just only transactional interaction type of thing.
Yeah. Like if I said, okay, I'm going to the store, and you're like, okay. And it's like, boom, but I'm going to the store. Do you need anything? I know that you were low on your body wash. Should I pick this up? How do we look with, we need any garbage bags? So certain things like that, you start to pick up, especially from your partner. It's like, hey, you need any of those facial things? I didn't see any. And so if you are attentive in the relationship or with that person, these are the things that you start to pick up about that other person. And
then I guess in addition to what you're sharing, I didn't realize what I learned is that, so before marriage, I thought it was instinctive, it kind of just happened. It was more interaction, transaction, it's something that you could pick up because it was being visually expressed or, something was happening. What I now know is that communication has so many different layers. I also realized that communication, I have to be attentive to tone. I knew that a little bit, but I also, I didn't realize that tone can come in different forms. Like you could sound angry, but you could be very concerned. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can sound sad, but you can actually be, worried or whatever. I know that's kind of similar. I also didn't realize that the unspoken words could also be a part of a communication process. Like, why are they unspoken? Why did the communication stop? Because of the experience given, right? So maybe you stopped sharing something with me because the last experience I gave you told you maybe it wasn't that comfortable. It was more difficult. I didn't, whatever the case may be, but I didn't understand that experiences also connect with communication, right? And so like someone may not want to speak to you based on the experience you gave them the last time, whether it was your body language, because you could have not said a word
Yeah.
Whether it was your body language, whether it's your, you were like not even being attentive, not like only attitude, but you were disregarding, kind of nonchalant,
Yeah.
disengaged,
Shut down.
shut down, whatever. Like it's a lot to do with, it has more to do with, there's so many, let me just say there's so many layers to it. Even with, and I know this is even when you're communicating like intimate things, right? How you even show your affection. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that is a verbal, but you just pass by a little rub. That's a communication sign.
Yeah. Yeah. You do a little bit more than normal. Like,
yeah, like
am I sensing something here?
Yeah, just come in with no pants on and just be like, hey, I'm not saying nothing with my mouth, but I'm saying something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like just standing at attention. You're like, hey.
Yeah. And just tell the kids, hey, you might want to watch out, especially if you're grown and you still come into the house because you're staying here going to school or something, just, watch out. I might just be popping out.
There's no silence around here.
Okay. Anyway, question to you. So what part of, which one was I?
What did I think communication meant before marriage?
Before marriage.
I would probably say the same thing. Verbal, nonverbal communication, it definitely means something. It stands out, and just letting your partner know, being considerate. That I think that's the main part too, is just the consideration of your partner, because again, when you get into a marriage, you get into this contract, whether if you want to look at it like that or not, with this other individual, and now you have to consider them. And a lot of people are selfish. They don't want to consider other people. They're like, I just want to continue to do what I want to do. But if you married the right person, not to say 100% of the time they're always going to agree with you, but it's easy. It shouldn't be hard.
Shouldn't be
hard.
Right.
It should not be hard. And so you should have a person that wants to go along with you, unless you're making a foolish mistake, and that's why they're there. Like, you think you really ought to do this? You got a bad heart. You got that limp in your leg. Don't go out here playing flag football with these 20-year-olds. So, and they will tell you right, whether if you want to hear it or not.
Right.
You need to hear it.
Right.
And that's another form of communication,
That's right.
As a reminder, watch this, watch that. And so those are the things that I never thought about.
Yes.
Until we actually lived them, experiencing them. And I'm like, oh, that's a better understanding. Good thing to tell younger people.
Yes. Or just people in general.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
the next question for communication.
The next question is, what does healthy communication look like now?
I would say my favorite calculation that I give to the kids is like an equation, which is, well, I'll keep it simple for you guys. I always say C plus C equals C. And I say compassion plus course correction equals character. And I believe that healthy communication has a pursuit of both compassion, a level of empathy, a level of, like putting yourself in the person's shoes, all those different things, kind of like you said, consideration, but it also is what you also said, you'll course correct, you'll give reminders, you can't have only dessert and no like healthy nutrition, protein and vegetables, right? So I think communication has to be a little bit of both, right? No one wants a person that always is going along with what you say and all of that. Meanwhile, they're out here and someone else is going to, give them the correct thing. And then you'll feel like I'm out here looking to food. The person that I love the most didn't even have enough courage to tell me or correct me or, whatever.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you are always with the person that's a corrector, always have something to say about everything, how you do this right, how you do that right, or how you need to correct. Stuff. Yeah. Then no one wants to be around that, right? Because no one wants to be corrected all the time because it implies that you're perfect and everybody's a hot mess out
there.
Yeah. And so you need a balance of both, but the balance doesn't come by accident. You have to do it intentionally, right? So I think healthy communication, each person is really being intentional about how do I connect with the person through empathy, understanding? How do I show a level of courage to really course correct the person so that they can continue to get stronger and they have a good, balance of character. But how do I do that in a way that will help make them trust or, make them feel like they can trust anything that they, share with me or any experiences they have with me. More times than not, obviously, we're not perfect. So sometimes things are going to go, to the left,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think healthy communication is something that you have a balance and you pursue a balance, and that you also are willing to constantly work on it with active listening and things of that nature as well, using all of the different ways to communicate.
Yeah. Okay. I will probably say for myself what I just talked about, like, as a reminder, your partner telling you, all right, now, you can't necessarily do this or be mindful of doing that because of, I think that's when they care, about like we say about your outsides and your insides,
Hello, yes.
We want to continue to grow old together and have a good quality of life. So these are the things that maybe I need to remind you of, or you should be reminding me. Don't forget to take, your vitamins or whatever it may be. Or I made you something, like you say, you can't just have dessert all the time. You have to have a balance. And so I think a good communication, a healthy relationship with good communication skills is a balance, course correction, like you mentioned before. So just that.
Just that. I think one other thing that you and I have spoken about is, I think when we did that cruise for our 10-year anniversary and we invited all the different couples, we did the night on Pillow Talk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One thing that we also said is make sure you communicate in the best way that the person can receive your message, not in the way you just want to say it.
Absolutely.
And so I think we learned that as well. All of us, we want to share whatever we want to share in the way that's easy and most comfortable for us. But if that style doesn't land well and is not palatable for the person, are you successful in your delivery of the message?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes that, we're like, well, I ain't going to be adjusting myself. I'm going to say it how I want to say it. Well, are you okay with them not hearing it?
Yeah.
That's the question.
It creates tension.
Yes.
And so because you chose to say it your own way,
in the way that suited you.
Yeah.
Not thinking about the fact that, when I share this with Cooley like this, he tends to be a little more defensive or he tends to safeguard. You got to pay attention so that you can adjust your message accordingly. A lot of people are like, I don't want to do that because, I'm me. Well, here's the thing. This is about doing life together. So the question is, what is your goal? What is your objective? Is it just to say the message, but it doesn't land? Okay, well, do what you want to do, right? It's not processed by the person. Do what you want to do. Or do you consider your audience and really critique and adjust it accordingly so that it is palatable? Again, not necessarily telling you to not be authentic to yourself, but it is telling you that everybody has to stretch. And consider the person, right? You don't do it for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
So, okay. All right. So topic 4, learning that love isn't always expressed in the same way. So when did you realize I receive love differently than you are used to giving it?
I think early on, because that's something that we always talked about. We went over the
5 love
languages. And that's something that I think continue to review and go over. And so, loving the person that they want to be loved, not the way you think you should love them or you want to be loved.
Right.
But I think a beautiful thing about us is that those ways overlap. And so we both express that and we both feel that. So it's easy. I think that's why it's so easy for us, because it's not like you have to step out of your comfort zone to do something that I like differently than you.
Right.
We do have our differences for sure, but I think a lot of times our likes overlap one another. So yeah, that came easy and that came early, I should say, in the relationship.
So example is you love physical touch. Well, I like to touch because it soothes me.
Yeah, yeah.
So that goes together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That goes together.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish someone would have told me what?
I wish someone would have told me that we needed to understand each other's sex rhythms. I think somebody should have told me that.
Okay, explain. What do you mean?
Well, I think that I think so. Sex rhythms are the frequency in which we have sex on a regular basis, right?
Okay.
And so, but not necessarily just in general, but like during like major things like being pregnant, during just different changes of life for each person. I wish someone would have told me that would be that the rhythms would change,
get
like
thrown out of whack.
Yeah, go happen more frequently. Sometimes the train will slow up for him or you, depending on what life what's going on. Like all of those different things. I never knew that. I just thought that if there was no intimacy exchange, maybe something was wrong.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just a rhythm thing, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes the rhythm is based on the load of activities that are taking place, whether it's like I have things moving 1,000,000 miles per hour at the job and then at home, and you pay attention to that, and you're like, okay, well, let me take some things off her plate so that so that she can be ready. I need this rhythm to be back in order, right?
Because it's a bit dry over here.
Yeah. I need the rhythm flowing. Also, it can happen to men as well, right?
Yeah.
I know. I think I saw Kevin Hart talked about it too. He was like, shit, I come home and my wife be like, what we doing? I be like, going to sleep. I ain't doing nothing. I'm tired. But no one talks about that because it seems like, well, what you doing? You getting it somewhere else?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Like you don't want like those. So I'm not necessarily talking about just how many times a week you want it, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times a week, but also when life happens, how that sex rhythm can change as well because of life circumstances, whether it's kids coming in, whether it is, you have to take care of a parent. It can be a myriad of different things, but yeah. So somebody should have told me that because it can make a person pause, especially, the world tells you also, well, if she can't get it from you or if he can't get it from you, he'll find somewhere else.
Yeah,
right?
And it's not just like that black and white.
No.
It's a lot of gray.
And it's not like sometimes you're doing something wrong.
Yes. Yeah, because it could be not an issue with either spouse. It's just like we're not, it's just the timing.
Yes.
It's off.
But that's why conversation has to happen.
Yeah.
As frequently as it needs to.
And vacations.
Take a vacation, because I'm telling you, vacation you get every day, all day, reset, morning, noon, and night. You can take a vacation next week. I could take one tomorrow.
I think we went. Where did we go? I think the first trip to Jamaica, and we were getting it in like newlyweds. He's like, man, why can't we do this all the time? I'm like, because we got to go to work.
You don't even, like our kids say, look, I be harassing our kids on a regular basis. Like when we're like, why aren't you guys home? What are you doing? But when we go out of town, we don't even care about no kids. Who
kids? We ain't calling them nothing.
Not checking on them to see if they're in the ditch somewhere. So, but I do wish someone would have told me about that, in that exchange or desire or actual, sexual exchange is not necessarily, it doesn't always mean that something's wrong and something's in trouble. Like, it just means that if you see something change, have a conversation. And it's okay to have a conversation, because that's the other thing, is that was not a thing. People didn't tell me that you should talk about sex. It's just, we learned through premarital counseling that you should talk about sex.
Yeah.
Fantasies, all of those different things. No one outside of that told me that you should be that explicit, about
because
sex.
Everybody is different. And people don't want to put their business out there they don't want to put too much out there without putting their own business out there. And it's just like, well, you gonna learn. You gonna learn today.
Yeah.
So it's just, as you experience it, you talk about it. And so, maybe you will, maybe you won't. If you do, then you'll survive and you'll have a successful, happy marriage.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go ahead and finish the statement. I wish someone would have told me what?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if I necessarily have a straight answer to that, because marriage is so many things. It's, yes, it's a partnership with somebody else, but it's such a myriad of things, so many emotions. We, within a week's time, we have 1,000 conversations about a bunch of stuff, but everything I enjoy everything. And maybe that is something that, I never got, because a lot of people will make it seem like, especially guys, I don't think I've ever met a guy that's just like, man, I love my wife, and like really talk about that.
Kevin on stage, we don't know him.
But I don't know him personally.
We don't know him personally, but we know, we see it online.
He definitely talks about,
I love it.
So I think when you have, so what was the question?
I wish someone would have told me
that marriage is fun. Marriage is marriage is enjoyable. I look forward to coming home to my wife. There's videos of, they show guys, it's like a montage of videos that's just dudes just walking and they looking hard until they see their wife, and then they like
a little kid.
Yeah, and so when you have like your best friend is somebody you wake up to, lay down with, y'all have, inside jokes, inside language that somebody else could be looking at you and what, these dudes ain't even speaking English, but it's something that's between, us. And so, we have so many things, and then we have our children that we raise, they came from us, and we have great communication with them. So I just love the overall idea of marriage. And I understand how people, depending on who you're talking to, if somebody was, got a divorce, they like, would you get married again? They'll probably say, absolutely not.
Hell no. They say, that's consistent.
But like if something happened and if I was asked that question, as long as it's somebody like you, but then that's the hard part, because I'll be looking at everybody sideways like, you ain't good enough for me.
Listen, and if I have to come from the heavenlies and be like, and she ain't like me, try again. And yes,
too funny.
I'll be like, she all right. She'll work.
She'll work. I'm like, okay, if you say so.
Yes. Okay. So next question.
Well, so this is the next section. So we're gonna do what?
We have what advice would you give to
newly married couples?
Yeah, newly married couples.
Talk about everything. Small, big. I would say watch how you respond. I think that's my biggest thing. Watch how you respond to what they tell you, especially if it's new. It could be shocking. It could be a little bit jarring, but how you respond, especially for guys, because I know from a boy to a man, I will still react the same way. If you respond in a certain way, that's going to determine if I'm going to tell you in the future more things. And then that could be the start of the downfall if I don't tell you. A lot of times in arguments, women are like, well, why didn't you tell me? Like, because I knew you was going to trip, or you was going to, what they say, crash out. And I didn't want to deal with that. I don't want to hear it. But it was something I said, I'll deal with it myself. Right. And then, of course, it's bigger than you. And of course, you have to get her involved. So communicate. And again, watch how you respond to these things, because now that the fact that they told you, good or bad, I can't say he tell you, hey, I got a baby on the way. And you gotta expect, you gotta.
You'd be like, okay, so let's think how we're gonna deal with this. I know you can, because if I respond like that, you should watch yourself sleeping.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm like, I'm gonna go sleep at the Motel 6 tonight. Yeah, so not anything like that extreme, but definitely you gotta have an open mind about stuff and communicate it. And then, once it's out in the open, like, yeah, I'm pissed. You can express how you want to deal with it afterward, but I think that's definitely a big thing.
Yeah. And I think, if I can share, just to add on, I think that goes to what we were talking about before, like, how does somebody experience you when they are sharing things that are difficult to hear? What experience do you give them when you are sharing something? So, like, if you share something with me and I give you a hard time, that is something that I think I said earlier. Lesson learned. I was like, I was out of order. I didn't realize. I didn't realize I made that difficult, because sometimes we can't see ourselves from outside perspective.
Yeah.
And then you saying, well, yeah, Shay, that wasn't the most comfortable. Okay. I don't know. That was it was good for us to understand that. Well, I don't know how else I could have made that more comfortable, because I was uncomfortable. right? So it's almost like you got to talk through that, because while you're creating an experience and another person may not want to tell you because you were going to act like that. Well, help me understand, how should I act? Like you, not to be argumentative, but truly, what response are you looking for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What response would be appropriate from your perspective in hearing this? I think that sometimes people don't really process that, right? So even, especially, I think men, I wouldn't say only men, but I'm just going to, because we said it in that framework, like men do that a lot. Like, I don't want to tell her because she be on one. She'll start tripping.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, process what's the best way for her to process, right? Not trying to tell her what to do, but how do you then adjust your message, not lying or omitting things, but how do you consider, okay, if I were to receive this information, how would I respond?
Yeah.
Well, oftentimes we don't do that. We're like, and if we do it, we downplay it. Well, I wouldn't be doing all this, but something like that. But there is something, but anyway, my point is, it's worth a conversation. Once you're processing, ask, okay, so this is hard for me to process. I got a lot of questions. What's the best way for me to share that with you? Mm-hmm. Right? So my advice would be, kind of going back to your fun comment that marriage is fun, treat each moment that you can like an adventure, because adventures are fun. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're fun. I feel like they're insightful. I feel like they have so many different elements. When you think about going on an adventure, I think about Dora the Explorer, right? I don't know why. I think about, she has her little backpack. They run into, her and Boots be running into all kinds of things. They have something they have to come against, but they really initially are going on this fun journey. And then, she's like, well, we got our backpack. And then, sometimes Swiper comes and steals it. And it's not ideal, and they're in a situation, but they partnered, they work together, and then they come out, and it's a fun experience. So I just kind of think that adventures help me understand that everything will have peaks and valleys, right?
Absolutely.
But it's how we experience that. And so then I'm not as afraid of those valleys, because those valleys typically condition us and strengthen muscles we need to get up to the next peak. And it just, I don't know. I just think it's more of something that is to be explored. And I think I have more grace in that space. I think you do too. I think that when we're on an adventure and we don't know, we're like, hey, we didn't know. Okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's less of an expectation of, well, you should have known this. You should have been prepared, that type of thing. So anyway, if you can treat as many experiences like adventures as you can. I'm talking about everything. Hey, you want to go on a cardio adventure? And that's just a walk in a different place. Do we want to do an adventure, a date adventure, or we just pick new restaurants, go to new rooftop bars? Like,
that's it. Yeah. Experience new things together.
And when you get there, you may not like a thing, but how do you deal with it?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. So this next section, this is rapid fire questions, no additional explanations, no lengthy ones. Okay. So this is marriage truths. Who is more stubborn in your opinion?
Me.
Yes, I agree. Who apologizes first?
Me.
I disagree.
I think you do.
I think we both apologize, but I think it depends on the situation, because that little stubbornness, you really be thinking you're right.
Well, then that's why I feel as though I apologize first, because then I'm like, maybe I'm not right. Maybe I'm in the wrong spot. So then I'm like, you know what? My bad. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I got to think about that. Okay. What habit of mine did you eventually learn to love?
I think, was there anything that
you don't want to tell the people how I'm like a songbird? I could just sing any song.
But that wasn't anything that you said eventually get to love.
Oh, yeah.
So there wasn't anything
You've always loved my singing.
Yeah. As crazy as it is,
They don't know that.
They don't. Again, inside jokes, right? That's for us to know and then for them to find out.
What about, did you eventually learn to love how I use your stuff? Like when I'm out of my stuff?
Yeah. I would say that I was just like, whatever. But I remember one time, of course, because I'm shaved, right? And I was noticing my blade. I'm like, man, this thing getting dull quick. And so I'm in the shower. No, she's in the shower. And I come in the bathroom. I'm doing stuff. And I hear this tip, 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 tip. And I look, and this one over here shaving her legs with my razor, and then
Because I'm trying to get the hairs out.
I know. So that was the thing. I was like, that's why it's so dull so fast, because and it's just like, you know what? Hey, it's no big.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yes. So I eventually learned to love. Well, I can't really, I guess I do love that you replenish everything. I don't know if that's eventually learn to love. I don't know. I like to say
You can appreciate it.
I appreciate you replenishing things, because like I will wait. Well, maybe when I don't think things are all the way done, I'm like, oh, I don't need anything else. You don't need to get me any more deodorant. You don't need to get me any more body wash. I have some, babe. You're fine. And you're like, no, I'm just going to get you some. And I'm like, I don't need any.
Because when you run out,
then I use yours.
Yeah, you start going into mine. That's what it is.
Now I'm learning to love to have a stockpile, because, maybe you can keep yours. I guess, I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but okay. Next question. What is something about me you appreciate more now than when we first got married?
The care that you have for me, especially as, we've gotten older. You be Johnny on the spot boy. And it's always humorous at the same time. So story time. I had a case of Bell's palsy. It's when the side of your face goes numb. And it was a slight thing. And of course, as a man, I think I found out about it on, maybe it was Wednesday or something like that. I think I told her maybe that Friday. She was like, why you wait so long? I was like, because I was going to wait till Monday.
Well, first of all, can we just pause and say he didn't tell me anything? We were in the bathroom and I looked at you. I was like, why is half his face not moving? And I looked again. I was like, am I tripping this morning? And I looked and I said, babe, look at me. And you're like, huh?
So we gotta get through the story. So I go off to work. I tell her nothing. I said, I explained to her, hey, if it doesn't clear up by Monday, I'll go to the doctor. She said, okay. She just left it at that, because she knew that arguing going back and forth, it wasn't going to work, right? So this is a wife working smarter, right? She's like, I'm gonna do my own thing. So I go to work. She gives me a call. She's like, hey, you doing okay? How you feeling? You need anything? I was like, no, I'm good. She said, okay, don't be mad, but I made a doctor's appointment for you. You have to leave right now. And so went to our family doctor, and I drive, 30, 45 minutes to get there. And I get out the car and I'm walking towards the office, but I'm on my phone. So I'm looking down. And then when I look up, who is there? This one, just leaning on the pole like, hey. So those are the types of things as men we have to appreciate, because, again, if it was left up to me, the side of my face probably still would have been like that right now, right? With looking like, Adrian, Because
the doctor was like, it's good that you came in early. Yes, doctor, it is. He was thinking about waiting until the weekend was over.
Yeah. So, I definitely appreciate those types of things.
Yes. Okay. I would say, what do I appreciate more now? I appreciate your attentiveness to details. And you've always been like that since we were dating, even starting with sending me 21.
Get it right now.
21 Hallmark cards for my 21st birthday. And even the details when I came to visit you, you were very attentive. But your ability, going back to what I said before, your ability to keep up with all my different conversations and parts of my life, whether it's professional or a sorority or just, doing something, mentoring, whatever, you are very attentive, but more so to then tell me, come on, just put your little head here and it's time to rest. And you're very, you're attentive to those things. So I'm grateful for that. And so, all right. So last thing, what is one thing that you want us to never stop doing?
Enjoying each other's company. Just the jolliness, the silliness, the jokes. Just whenever we hang out, we always have a good time. People notice it. They like, you guys having too much fun. But, I love it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I encourage it. Even with our own children, I think a good question to ask yourself, and this is to anyone that's in a relationship, would you want your children to have the relationship that you have? And I absolutely would 100% want our children to have the relationship that we have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be it.
I think that's that I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I just want to keep having a great time, keep being friends, keep, being partners, keep all of this going. I do.
Yeah.
And with someone else's money too, if somebody want to go ahead.
For sure. Yes, that would help even more.
Yes.
For sure. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yes.
And you stay tuned. Come back next week and we will have more laughs, more fun, more real talk as we always do.
Yes. And take these questions, some of these questions, share them with your partner, share them with, just consider them, process them, share with us other questions that you would want us to ask each other live. I think that would be good as well. If we didn't think about something, obviously, let us know. But the biggest takeaway is you won't know everything before you get married. You can go through all the counseling. You can watch every podcast. You can read every book. But I think where Cooley started this whole thing when we started talking, your relationship is your own and you discover as you go. And so give yourself that space, give your spouse or your partner that space, and leverage your resources so you guys can figure out how to leverage them best together and not try to, put us for, other people's expectations and other people's relationships into your relationship. So you could take what we've shared today, but you may have a lot of different answers. We told you this is advice. We said, hey, communication, this is what we talked about, but really spend time learning, what do you want to talk about? How do you want to explore your partner? And how do they want to explore you? So just take time to do that so you guys can learn each other using some of the resources or questions we've asked.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Until next week, y'all be good. God bless.
Yes.
Later.